everyone! Today I have for you another laundry chat video. I haven't done one of these videos in quite a while now. Usually what it is I do my laundry while I'm telling you guys a story, and that way we can get through this whole laundry mess together. Because if you're anything like me, I absolutely hate doing laundry, so I figured that if I told you guys a story, like a story time video while doing my laundry, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. This video you do not have to pay attention to if you don't want to. You can honestly just set me down while I'm telling you a story, and you really don't have to pay attention to it if you don't want to. Now, if you are not into the story time type of videos, I do have other videos where I'm doing my laundry, and it's kind of like my clean with me videos, to where there's music where I'm kind of talking in it, but there's more music and it's just me like speeding through. So I will link those both down below. I'll link all my other laundry chats, and then I will link my fast speed through laundry. That way you guys have more of a mix up. So yeah, if you guys would like to do your laundry with me, then just go ahead and keep on watching. So when I was planning this video, I was trying to think of what to talk about, and I figured that with everything going on with the viruses out right now, and it about to be St. Patrick's Day. Now, no, hold on a second. I know that those two don't cross paths, but I want to tell you about the time that I had a very bad St. Patrick's Day due to a very bad flu. So I'm just letting you know, I might show pictures of it if I can find it. If it's it could be a little gruesome to people who have a weak stomach, so I'm just letting you guys know right now. I'll give you a warning when it's coming. But yeah, there may be some pictures in here that you may find disturbing. So this was about 4 years ago, and I was working at my bar at the time. I had worked at this bar for a little bit, and it was St. Patrick's Day. Now, I wasn't working that day, but I was there just hanging out. Now, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, I don't drink anymore, but back then I did drink, and I went to St. Patrick's Day. I was by myself. I was single at this point. I hadn't met my husband yet, and I just kind of went to go and hang out with all my coworkers and stuff. And I remember that my one coworker, she's like a mixologist. She's amazing with the way that she makes drinks. So I remember that I was going next door to the liquor store, and I was grabbing this one thing that she was telling me to grab from there. It wasn't alcohol, it was like a juice. And she was making me like this Irish lemonade type of thing. And I had 2 of them. Now, if you ever had like certain juices from like a liquor store, you'll know that they come in bottles like, you know, like that big. And so I had the first drink. I was feeling fine. At this point, I drank. Like now, if I were to drink, I'd be the cheapest date in the world. Like I would probably get like a buzz off of 1 drink, and I would probably get drunk off of 2. But back then I was able to drink a little bit more. So I remember I drank 1 and I was like, oh, you know, these are good. This is great. Love this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, make me another one. So she made me another one, and I had gotten halfway through it. And I remember just not feeling good after that point. Not that I was hungover. Not that I was sick, you know, no signs were anywhere. And I remember sitting there, and I'm, you know, halfway through, and I can feel it getting worse and worse, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I knew that I wasn't drunk, and I knew that, you know, I wasn't buzzed or anything. Like, I wasn't anything. So I had sat there for a little bit, and I wasn't drinking. And I had sat there for probably like a couple of hours. And I'm seeing everyone around me, you know, partying. Oh my God, it's St. Patrick's Day, all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, I just don't feel good. So I remember I texted my mom, and I was like, hey, can you come and pick me up? And she was like, you know, are you drunk? And I was like, no. So from the time that I had like texted her to the time that I had like last had my drink, it had been a few hours. So I knew I wasn't drunk, but you know, just in case, I wanted her to pick me up. So she picks me up and she's like, oh, you know, are you so drunk? Are you just so drunk? And my mom's not giving me a hard time. She's just kind of like making a joke, like, haha, look at, you're drunk. And keep in mind, this was 4 years ago. So I was 22, you know, the party stage and stuff like that happens. And I was a bartender and all these things were going on. So of course she's like, you know, kind of laughing at it. Like, oh, I remember those days. And I just remember sitting in the car and I'm like, no, I'm not. I just don't feel good. So we had stopped at In-N-Out. we had stopped at In-N-Out afterwards because I was like, maybe I just need to get some food in me, and like maybe that's why. Maybe I'm getting an upset stomach. Maybe I'm drinking on an empty stomach, like whatever. I was vegan at the moment. So when we went to In-N-Out, it was just like a normal veggie burger with like no sauce on there or anything like that. So we had gotten food and we headed home, and I remember eating, and I was just telling my mom, like, you know, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I was watching TV with her and everything. I was watching shows and we were talking, but it was just, you know when you're getting sick, you can kind of feel like something is coming on, but you can't really pinpoint it. Like, you know you don't want to get out of bed. You know just something is wrong. So I remember eating, and I go and I lay down and I fall asleep. And the next morning rolls around. I woke up, I walked to the bathroom, and I just remember I opened the door, TMI, and I'm sorry, and I just remember everything from last night just came up. And it was all in the sink, and I was grossing out because of it. So it was like, then I had to rush to the toilet, and it was, I didn't know what was going on. And my mom was getting ready for work at the moment, and I wasn't working that day because, like I said, I was a bartender, and I had work the next day. So this was St. Patrick's Day, I think was on a Thursday. It was Friday, I worked Saturday. So this was Friday, and my mom was getting ready for work in the morning, and I remember she walked out when I was in the bathroom, and she was like, oh, you hungover? And I'm like, no, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't feel good right now. Like, I really don't feel good. There's no way that I would be hungover after 2 drinks. It was like, there was just no way. Like, I was a drinker at the time. She didn't even make them strong. They were just more of like a taster. Like, I told her, like, I had to drive. I wasn't planning on staying all night. And there was no way. So I remember, after she said that, I had left my car at the bar because my mom had picked me up. And she was like, okay, do you want to go and get your car? And I was like, no, I don't. Like, I don't know if I can drive right now. And she was like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to work. I'm not going to be back until this time. And I was like, that's fine. I don't care. Like, I'll focus on it. I'll focus on it later. So she left for work, and I remember just laying on the couch. At this point, I remember that it was just me and my mom home at this point. My brothers had moved out. So I remember just laying on the couch, and I felt like I was dying. And I just know that, like, every hour, I just kept feeling more sick and more sick. And I would get, like, congested, and I would get, like, a cough, and I felt hot. Like, I just remember I was feeling like I was on fire. And I know what a flu is. I know what a cold is. I've had these before. This was different. Like, it felt like it, but it felt way different. Now, once again, this is not the coronavirus. This was 4 years ago. So it wasn't like anything was out at the time or anything like that. It wasn't like, oh, big epidemic going on right now. There was nothing going on. There was nothing. And I don't know how I even got it. I literally don't know what happened. So I'm sitting there, and I just remember I'm looking at the clock, just keep rolling and rolling, and I'm like, I'm crying at this point because I'm not feeling good. I have this blistering fever. I don't feel good. I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to eat anything. I'm trying to eat crackers. I'm trying to eat, like, top ramen. I'm just trying to eat. And at the point I was vegan, so food was like very limited for me at this point, because in my city, we're not really big in like, you know, there's not a lot around. It's not like how it is now. Back then there wasn't the Impossible Burger, and like buying vegan food, if you went to the grocery store, there was like a tiny section that had it. So I either had to get up and make something, or something that was already pre-made was basically like, in a way I didn't want to throw it up. And I know that sounds weird, but like I didn't want to make food that I spent a very hard time working for to just have it go to waste. So I was trying to eat stuff. I'm trying to eat crackers. I'm trying to eat tortilla chips. I'm trying to eat ramen. I'm trying to eat everything. And nothing is staying down. And I mean nothing is staying down. The moment I would put something in my mouth, it would come right back up, including water. So I was super dehydrated. So as the hours start rolling by and I'm not keeping anything down and I'm home alone and all these things are going on, my mom comes home and I'm just sitting there like my eyes are puffy, I can't breathe, I'm crying, my head hurts, my body aches, everything is going on, like, and she's just staring at me. I mean, I get it, you know, she's looking at her daughter who's looking like death. And so she's just staring at me and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine, but no, I'm not. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on." And I'm just like crying to her, and you know, I'm turning into this big baby at 22 years old trying to like, "Mommy, help me," kind of thing. And she doesn't know what to do. She's trying to give me aspirin to like break my fever, and it's not working because I can't keep it down. Like I can't keep pills down. She's freaking out. We have no insurance at this point. I'm a bartender. There's a whole lot of stuff that was going on with our family at that point, with my dad and everything that was going on with like their divorce, and all kinds of stuff was going on. So we didn't really understand what, like, there wasn't really like a point that we can just run to the hospital or run to the ER. So I'm trying to hold off, and you know, my mom's like, "No, we should go. No, we should go." And I'm like, "No," because I know like I'm gonna be stuck with that bill and I can't afford it right now. So I'm just sitting there trying to break my own fever. So since I'm trying to break my fever, I'm grabbing wash rags and stuff, and I'm wetting them, super ice cold water, and I'm like spinning them around the room. Like I'm laying on the couch, and keep in mind, like I'm having a fever, so like my back, my body is just wet. It was just me and my mom home at the time, so I'm like sitting there in like a bra and underwear, and I just remember like my back was soaked. The couch was soaked. Like you can see exactly where I was laying. And I remember my mom filming me, and she's like, "You are burning up." And I've had a fever before. I've had one. I've had bad ones. And this one was nothing like it. Like I just felt like my body was frying. So I'm taking the wash rags and I'm spinning them all around the room, and I would put one under my back, I would put one under my neck, one on my forehead, one on my stomach, like one like on each leg. I would just put all these wash rags everywhere. And the moment I would put one on my skin, it would just, like that, just heat, instant heat. And I'm not even exaggerating. I know the way this is sounding, but like I'm not even exaggerating. And so I'm panicking because I don't know how to break my own fever. I can't take aspirin. It's not staying down. Nothing's working. I can't stand up longer than 2 seconds because I'll just throw up. And I can't keep laying here because I'm getting hotter and hotter the more that I'm laying down. Like I just feel this heat coming. And we're putting ice everywhere on me. And I mean, like, we are putting ice, like packs of ice. Like my mom's going in the fridge and like putting packs of ice on stuff and like putting it everywhere. It's not breaking. it's not breaking. And I was to the point where my fever was so high. We actually took my temperature and I was at 103.8, which is almost 104, which I want to say the point of brain damage is like 106 or something like that. I'm not sure, don't exactly quote me. And I just remember laying on the couch, and tell me if you guys have been there, but I remember laying on the couch and I remember like my body is shaking. Like I'm like shaking. I'm cold and hot at the same exact time, which is so weird when you have a fever, is that like your body is like freezing, but at the same time you're hot. But like at my point, I was like on fire type of hot. Like I just felt like my skin was just burning and it was so uncomfortable. And it got to the point where like I couldn't even focus. I'm looking out like across the room, I'm looking at my mom, and everything just sounds like muffled. Like I can't focus on what anyone is saying. I can't focus on anything. I can't watch the TV. If I close my eyes, it hurts. If I blink, it hurts. Like everything is hurting. This is going on Friday. Now, Saturday, I remember I texted my boss, my bartending boss. Yes, the same place that this happened. I don't work at this bar anymore, so for all my friends who are watching from the bar, I'm sorry. So I had texted my boss at the bar. It was actually the boss's son. And I remember I was telling him like, look, I can't. Like, I can't go to work. I can't. I'm sitting here with a fever. I can't move. I haven't eaten in this is my 3rd day. I haven't eaten. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm sorry that it's, and the thing is like, it wasn't even last minute. I had texted him Friday night, and I was supposed to be at work at 1. He did not text me back until like 3, saying that I didn't give him enough notice. And it's like, dude, a normal job, I only gotta let you know like 2 hours before, and I let you know that night. Like, I texted him at like 9 o'clock at night. Like, I'm not gonna be able to come to work. Like, there's no way. So, I'm getting crap from my boss because he wants me to come into work, but I can't because I'm sick. And okay, well, blah, 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 blah. All pissed off, and Vanessa always gets sick, which at the point I was, but I didn't call out of work that often. If anything, I covered for people. So, I was sitting there, and I remember it was around, how long did I have this fever for? I want to say it was about 5 o'clock on Saturday. Yes, I was going through it for a very, very long time. Now, I don't know exactly when the 103.8 hit. Like, I don't remember that part. You have to keep in mind, I was very out of it. But I do remember I ended up breaking it. I had gotten in the bath, and I remember running a bath, and I remember putting it on hot because I felt cold, but I was still hot. So I remember running the bath, and I remember like I was having a really hard time just like sitting there. And I ran the bath, got in, and I was like, okay, I need to just like be in here for like 10 minutes, like try to make it 10 minutes. Because remember, I can't stand. I haven't been able to keep food down. I'm very malnourished at this point. Like, there was so much going on. And I was also limited on everything that I was, you know, able to eat because I was vegan. I mean, putting a carrot down, I still couldn't keep it down. Like, there was nothing I could keep down. So I was having a very, very hard time. So I'm sitting in the bath, and I'm just like trying to breathe. Like, I'm having a hard time though. So I'm like sitting there and like, and I remember feeling sick, and I'm shaking. Keep in mind, like, I'm in a hot bath and I'm shaking cold, but like beads of sweat are just dripping down my forehead. And I remember I was like, nope, I can't do this. So I got up, I went to go throw up basically nothing because I haven't had anything in my system for 3 days. And I just remember like after I did, the bath was still there. I didn't like unplug it or anything. And I'm just like in a fetal position on the floor, just like shaking. Cause like, I didn't know what else to do. I have this raging fever and I'm just cold and I'm hot, and now I just got out of this hot bath and I'm sitting here with cold water now on me because I was just in a hot bath and now I'm out of it. I haven't dried off. I have wet hair and I'm just shaking. And just like that, it honestly felt like a switch, which was the craziest thing that I've ever felt before. It's like I just felt my body just start to lower its temperature. And I just remember not feeling sick anymore. And I'm like laying there, and I laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. And I just remember being like, oh my God, like I feel okay to get up. Like I feel, like I still feel like drained. Like my body was so drained. I had no energy. I had no food in me. And I just remember I got up, dried off, I put clothes on, I put my hair up. Like I'm touching myself and I feel cold. Like I would rather feel cold than hot at any point. And I just remember like feeling cold, and I was like, I'm good. Like I'm really, really good. So you would expect it to end there, right? Yeah, that's what I thought too. So I had fallen asleep, and like I said, you know, you have to keep in mind my body was completely tired. I was worn out. I had been fighting this thing for the past couple of days. I haven't eaten. My body was just done. So at that point, I was, my dogs are inside dogs. So there's some times in the middle of the night where I have to get up and I have to let them out. They'll cry to go to the bathroom or whatever. I had gotten woken up by them at around 2 or 3, I want to say, in the middle of the night. So I had gotten up, let them out, and I remember as I'm walking to let them out, because the way that like my house worked is, yeah, if you can see the clothes, I'm just starting to pile them up because I'm just going to take them once I'm done. So I let them out, and as I was letting them out, I just felt my vision just like tunnel in and out. And I was kind of like, whoa, never felt that before. But I knew I wasn't sick anymore. Like I felt normal. I actually felt good. I didn't have any problems. So I felt my vision go. And I remember I opened the door. The dogs went out. I closed the door. And it was like a blackout moment. I closed the door, and all I remember was me holding on to the door, and I was like laying like this. Like the door is here. Like the door is here, and I'm on the floor sitting with my legs out like I had fallen asleep, and I'm holding the door. And I had woken up and I was like, oh, I must have just fallen asleep. Like, you know, I wasn't thinking about it. So I was like, I'm gonna go and sit down on the couch. And I remember sitting there while I'm waiting for the dogs to go to the bathroom, and I just remember like looking at the TV, and I'm sitting there, and I just remember again the vision just going, and then it was just like out. Completely out. And I remember like when I came to, both times I like came to and I was like oh, I gotta let the dogs back in. So I let the dogs in. So I remember like seeing the clock, and I was like, okay, it's time to go to bed. I locked up the doors. I'm walking the dogs back in. I had closed my door. That is the last thing I remember. I remember the dogs going in to my room, and that was it. I just remember shutting the door. I woke up on the floor. My bed is here, and I am like here. So bed, me, floor. So yeah, I remember laying on the floor, and I'm just like this, like just on the floor, and my bed's here, and the dogs are all, you know, laying on their beds and stuff. And I remember getting up and being like, that's so weird. Why am I on the floor? I didn't feel anything. Nothing happened. I laid in bed. And I remember like I'm laying in bed, and I'm kind of like, okay, I need to, like, it's time to just go back to bed. I don't understand what, like, because I couldn't piece together what was going on. Because there was so much that was going on. There was, you know, being sick, having a fever, my brain's not into it, I haven't eaten, my body's over it, I'm tired, I'm going in and out, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't know what's happening. So I remember laying there, and I felt a drip, like, cause I'm laying like this, and I feel like a drip starting to roll down. And I remember like I wiped, and the moment I wiped, you can tell the difference between like sweat and blood, water and blood. And I remember that I just like wiped. It was pitch dark in my room, but I remember like looking at my hand and being like, oh my gosh. And like I freaked out, and I ran to my mom's room, and I was like, Mom, I need to go to the ER. And she hopped up, you know, because I had just been sick for the past couple days. So she hopped up and she was like, what's wrong? What happened? And I was like, I think I just busted my chin. And she was like, are you sure? Oh my gosh. Like, she's panicking because she's half asleep, and then this is what I'm telling her. So I'm getting a wet wash rag, and I'm like holding it on my chin. So what I had gotten from it was that technically I fainted that night multiple times. I closed the door, I took a few steps, and I fainted again. But this time, the dog bed, what makes me mad is that the dog bed was right next to where I had fallen. So picture like if this where my face was, the dog bed was like right here. And if I would have fallen on the dog bed, I wouldn't have busted my chin open. So, we went to the hospital, and the hospital that we went to isn't really known as the best hospital of where we live. So, we went, and we sat in there for a while. I understand, you know, the whole ranking system and stuff when you're in the hospital. I understand that there's priorities. So there was 2 ladies in there with like heart conditions and stuff, and like they weren't able to breathe. And I understand that they're gonna go before me. I have a busted chin. It's not that serious. It's gonna be busted as time goes on anyway. So I'm not in a rush. So I'm sitting there, and you know, me and the ladies are talking, and my mom's there, and they told me, you're gonna have to wait till 10:30 until the urgent care opens. And I was like, I could just go home, but of course I'm not going to, because you know I don't want to wait. So I'm sitting there, and I'm keeping a wet wash rag on it because I don't want it to dry up. They get me back there, and the nurse and the doctor just start like drilling me. They're like, so were you drinking? Were you doing this? Were you doing that? And I was like, no, I've been sick. I don't understand what's going on. Like, this is what happened. I fell, I fainted. He looks at it. So right now I'm gonna show you the picture, so if you're squeamish or anything, avert your eyes. But basically when I busted it, you can see like 2 little like puffy parts, and I guess that's like the tissue. And then there's like a little bit of a white bit in it. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it in the pictures, but basically I had busted it to the bone. Like when I fell, they said that like I came down and I just like hit, and it just bust. Like it just like popped open. And so I ended up getting 6 stitches. He said it was gonna be 3. He underestimated himself, and if you look at my scar, which you're not gonna be able to see on camera, so I'm not really gonna show you guys because the scar isn't like that noticeable. He pinched a lot of the area. So like you can see some nice like areas of where it is like perfectly healed. And then you'll see an area in my chin where it looks a little pinched. And I had stitches for 10 days. I took them out. I started rubbing oil on it and all that stuff. It was always weird for me. Like I had stitches right here. So if you looked at me, it looked like I had a couple of like chin hairs, but not on this side. So it looked funny. Like there was nothing I could do about it, but it just looked funny because it just looked like half of my face. I had like a little tiny chin hair that was like underneath, and then this side there wasn't. So like when I would go to like the store and stuff, I would just kind of like look down because it was weird. But so moral of my story, I don't know what that was. When I tried to research it, you know, of course there's always something that pops up, and it's like H1N1, H1N2, there was this going on at this time, there was this going on at this time. So I don't know what that flu was. If anyone got a flu around March of 4 years ago, 2015, I want to say, 2016? 2016. Let me know if you know what that was, because whatever it was, I got it, and it was bad. And I survived. I'm there. I still have my scar. You can't really notice it. The only thing that I get mad about is like I had braces and stuff when I was a kid. This is a blanket, so if you guys don't see me folding it, it's because it's gonna stay there. Yeah, but I had braces and stuff as a kid, and I feel like when I fell, it like knocked my jaw. So like my normal bite and stuff, I feel like it's not normal. So like every time I like crunch down, it just doesn't feel like my teeth line up the way that they used to. Also, last thing is that technically I did have a concussion. Now I wish the doctor would have like tested me to see what it was or to try to figure out what I had, but he didn't. He didn't run any blood work. He didn't do anything. The only thing he did was give me stitches, and that was it. And I wish he would have tested me for a concussion, but technically I think I did have one because when I had went home from the hospital, I ate, everything was fine, everything was good. I remember I went back to the bar kind of like to prove that I was sick and stuff. Like I felt like I needed to be there to let people see that I had stitches and that I was actually very sick, because it's like no one believed me. And they wanted like all these doctor's notes and stuff, and it's like I worked at a dive bar. There was no getting doctor's notes or anything like that at that point. Like there was kind of no point. But I just felt like I needed to go and show what happened to me. So I went. And I remember I'm sitting there with one of my friends, and she's a really good friend, you know, of everyone who's in there. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to her, and she works in a doctor's office. You know who you are. So I'm sitting there talking to her, and I remember like I was looking at one of the lights, because like if you've ever been in that bar, everything is dark, but then there's like random little lights, but they're more like dim lights because it's a very darker bar. But so I'm sitting there and I look at one of the lights, and I remember like I turned my head after I looked at the light, and I just remember it was like this like flicker. Like I just remember my eyes like flickering, and I remember I like looked and I was like, that's weird. But I wasn't telling her like what was happening. And then I would look something else at another light, and I would like look, and as I'm like bringing, it would be like every time I looked at the light and I would turn my head back to like look straight or look at someone else, it was like I would look at the light, look at her, and it like flickered the entire way of me looking at her. It was like my mind was trying to catch up with where it was going. And I remember after like 30 minutes, I talked to her and I was like, something's not right. And I was explaining it to her, and she goes, I think you have a concussion. And I was like, yeah, but they didn't like treat me for it. And she goes, it doesn't matter. Like, I think you have one. You need to go home. And I was like, but what am I going to do? Like, it's dark out. There's lights. People have their headlights on. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to hurry up and go home. And I remember like I would not look at any of the lights like headed my way. I was just looking like straight at the floor and like kind of like up a little bit just to see what the people's headlights and tail lights and stuff in front of me were doing. But I was trying really hard not to look at the headlights of all the people coming this way, because I didn't want it to happen again. I didn't want it to flicker, because then I wouldn't know the difference between the tail light right there, the tail light over there, the headlight over there. Like nothing made sense. It did that for about 2 days, and then it went away. So I don't know what that was. If you guys have ever had that happen, let me know, because I don't know what that is. I know that it sucks because, like, you know, I tried really hard not to go to the ER to pay that price, and now I'm paying for it still. So it's kind of like it didn't matter, but it's unfortunate, and it just so happened that I had gotten sick, and because of all the situations that kind of just puzzle pieced together, that was my end result. So this is my laundry chat video. I'm going to be putting all these clothes away. If you guys like these videos, please let me know. I'll throw in like a mixture of like story time mixed with like the speed through laundry chat videos. That way it kind of breaks it up. But if you guys do like these videos, please let me know. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you guys haven't already. And I will be seeing you guys very, very soon in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.